Okay, so what I've done so far, this is a continuation of working on the cover of my new journal. We're calling her Use Your Wings. And so I've got pieces, I think I showed you in my last video, I had these pieces of balsa wood, kind of like this. What I did is I went in and sanded the edges, you know, got the little rough pieces off. And I also used my, did I use my Dremel tool? No, I just used a sanding block and rounded the corners just a little bit just to soften that up, that edge. And that kind of ties in with the edge of the cover of this book that I'm going to be using. Then I went in and I started coloring. So I added texture. I've got some crackle paste, some paper texture. There's this little bit of this grid, this drywall tape, and I'm trying to think of what else. I think that's pretty much it. I just slapped some texture on each one of them, set them aside, let them dry, and then I went in and did a coat of white gesso on top of all of them, and then I started, let that dry, of course, and then I started playing with color. So what I did first, I just have these little, I have a bunch of these colors of acrylic paint. These little tubes, these are great. I think I got them, for those of you in the States, at Michael's for just a couple bucks. First, I used watered down raw umber, and I just covered, you know, each of the pieces separately. And then I mixed in with that same raw umber, again, watered down a little bit. I mixed in some burnt sienna and did the same thing and just went over it. And I just kept adding color layers until I was happy with it. I think next I went in with some distressed ink, a re-inker in walnut stain, and I hit, you know, sort of the, where you can see the darker areas here with the walnut stain, and each time dabbed it off and each time dried it off. And then I think the last thing I did was over, you know, again, over all of them, some burnt sienna liquid acrylic, again, watered down, and did sort of a wash over the whole thing. I rubbed in some of my darker colors. I tried to rub in some of the low levels of the texture. Yeah, so that's really what I use. Some acrylic paint, some liquid acrylic, and some distressed ink, a re-inker bottle. And it's nice, and the re-inkers are really concentrated. So now what I'm going to do is start going to take each one of these individual pieces, and I'm just going to create a little mini assemblage. I have tons of stuff here. I have some, I don't know what those are called, sort of like wheat sticks. And I've got my little tray that I showed you with some rust pieces and metal parts and stuff. I've got some antique, this is thread. This is a really pretty green in it, and this is sort of an oatmeal color. So I've got that. I've got some trim here, new trim, that is fibrous, very fibrous. This also has a little bit of green in it. Got that. I've got some of this, this is, it's not ribbon, but it's in the ribbon department at Hobby Lobby. So I might be able to use some of that on there, maybe, maybe not, I don't know, I just have it here. And then I have some other trims and things. So basically I'm surrounded. Oh, and I have my big bag of rust with some rust fabrics in it as well that I might be able to incorporate too. So I've basically just surrounded myself with stuff, and I'm just gonna start playing. I'm just going to take each one of these individually and start building and playing and seeing what happens. So I am not going to talk during this. I'm just going to either do a time lapse or a fast forward or something, but finished. This part of it is finished. Hopefully this doesn't look like somebody just sort of barfed on it. My intent was for it to be just a lot of stuff and a lot of fibers and textures and pieces, and the whole thing is an interpretation of a bird's nest. So this is my bird's nest. I've got the Use Your Wings down here plate. On this, I put black gesso on first, and then some bronze metallic wax, and then use some Tim Holtz brads in here. Let's see. Let me come up close and I'll do a quick. This is a watchmaker's vial. There's some fibers next to it. This is just a little piece from an old vintage, what am I trying to say? Ledger. And it just says a nice, pretty, I think that's an N. It might be a G. I'm not sure. This little tiny piece here is a watchmaker part. We've got the fibers that I showed you where there's stitching on them. There's a piece of rusted fabric here. These are little, I don't know, twigs. The hammer or the nail. This piece back here is left over from gutting a book. It's from the spine of a book. There's a washer. There's some fibers here, more fibers here, more fibers here. Then back underneath here is one of those pieces that I had hand stitched. This is a real piece of wood from a tree that a limb that fell in my backyard. It's been there for a couple months. I do need to actually get rid of it. But anyway, I just took a few pieces off and sanded them and then sort of buffed it so it had a little tiny bit of sheen. This piece has fibers on it, some more rusty fabric. Here's some more of those little twig pieces, the rusty clip. Down here we've got more ledger paper. This is a Tim Holtz factory label that I just wound some twine through. It's the same twine that's here. It's not twine. It's, I don't even know what it is. It's string. It's wool, actually, I think. I'm not sure about that. On this, I used alcohol ink and then a little bit of the bronze wax as well. This is another piece of from the spine of a book. We've got a tiny piece of lace here. Here's another one of the stitched pieces. Another piece of rusted fabric back here. The rest, this is a vintage key, a real live vintage key. More fibers here, more fibers here. This is an optometrist lens and an old-fashioned, slide it in. Is this better or is this better? One of those things. Another rusted washer. And then this brown, these two pieces here, which are actually connected, are from the spine, the back side of this journal. So it's this piece on the other side. Is that everything? There's a lot here. There's another washer back here hiding. More fibers back here. There's more of the wood piece. More fibers here. I think that's kind of it. Yeah, I think. So there's a lot going on. I think you saw from that, I tried to speed up and time lapse the video. But there's a lot of glue, wait, let it dry. Glue, wait, let it dry. So this took probably about 8 hours to do, just because really most of the drying time, actually I think it was probably more than that. It was probably more like 10 hours. Anyway, nonetheless, it's done. Now what I have left to do is I'm going to hinge this, and then I'm going to put something underneath here. Don't know yet what that is. I might actually do that part after I do some of the insides of the journal, just to get a feel for the direction I'm taking on the inside, and then put something there that coordinates with that. So, okay, yeah. So this is ready to finish up and go to the next stage. And I'll be back with more from Use Your Wings. And here, I'll flatten this all out completely so you can kind of see the whole thing, if I can get it in camera. And that's the whole picture of what she's, pretty much what she's going to look like when she's done. So I will be back with more on this journal. Thanks for joining me. Bye.